Hi, I'm Patrick Dunnican. At Gibbons, we believe that citizens need to be informed about the complex issues that affect their lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Keeping our water supply safe, next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Activists in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, working for great public schools for every child, Berkeley College, JFK Medical Center, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, and by Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger, powering njea.com, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
Welcome to Caucus, New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, unused prescription medication often winds up in the water supply and into the wrong hands. And when that happens, it threatens everyone's safety. Here in the studio to teach us ways that we can keep our water safe, we have Frank Iannarone, who is the owner of Madison Pharmacy. We also have our good friend Ed Wallace, who is the Director of Community Corporate Affairs for United Water and also the head of United Water's Foundation. Angela Conover is the Director of Media for the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey. And finally, Captain Bill Sheehan is the Executive Director of Hackensack Riverkeeper. I want to thank you all for joining us, talking about keeping our water supply safe. Throughout this program, you're going to see several websites talking about how you, as citizens of this region, can participate in the effort to keep our water system safe. Look, there's a problem. Prescription drugs are being disposed in irresponsible ways. Not your fault. May not be my fault, our fault, but there's a problem. And so, bottom line is that, let me ask you this. We're about to show a piece of video provided by United Water that talks about the fact that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. There is a problem.
There is a problem.
Describe it.
The problem is, as our generation did, when we have unused medications, my parents, your parents, we took the medications and poured them down the toilet and disposed of them. That somehow filters back into our water system. Even though it's trace amounts, they're there. And we're trying to educate the public on there are better and a cleaner way to dispose of unused medications. That's why if you go to the website, which you'll see, yep. Dispose My Meds.
Dispose My Meds is one of the sites we have. Go ahead.
Correct. It'll tell you how you can go to your local pharmacy and actually dispose of your medications.
Angela, I'm going to come to you right after this. We're actually going to take a look at this Dispose My Meds piece of information video provided by our friends at United Water, and then we'll talk about it right after this.
Each year, Americans fill 4 billion prescriptions, but as much as 1/3 of that medication will never be used. Some of this waste ends up in the rivers, lakes, and streams that make up our drinking water supply. The United Water Foundation and the National Community Pharmacists Association have partnered to bring you a simple solution. Dispose your meds responsibly. Go to disposemymeds.org to find a participating pharmacy and to learn more.
Angela, when you see a video like that, okay, trying to make people aware, public awareness, is that our biggest challenge?
Well, I think it's important. I think anything that tells people to be aware of what they have in their home is an important message. But, we ask parents, we ask family members, know what's in your house. Take inventory of what you have. Find out, because we know that young people, aside from the consequences on the environment, that young people are accessing these meds and diverting them and abusing them.
But here's the thing. We're at the Caucus Educational Corporation, together with our partners in public broadcasting, WNET and NJTV and our other partners. We've been part of a 2-year effort, together with the Partnership for Drug-Free New Jersey. And we also are doing some of the stuff on the water end, but these two issues come together here.
Yes.
You're about to see a website. Team, put up right after this the American Medicine Chest website. As people look at that, Angela, tell folks what they're going to see there and how the information on that website, because we want to connect social media, the internet to this program, when they see that, how that connects, that information there, to trying to keep the waterways safe. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, when you go on to AmericanMedicineChest.com, you'll find information on how to properly dispose of your medicines. Any medicine that you have been prescribed. regardless of the classification or the schedule.
We'll talk about that in a second.
That it is. You go on the website, you type in your zip code, and all of the local permanent collection sites where you can dispose of anything will list for you.
So it tells you where you can go. Are they called
Absolutely.
drop boxes?
Yes, they're medicine drop boxes. We have all of the disposal boxes and drop boxes that have been obtained through the Attorney General's office through Project Medicine Drop, all of the boxes that local community coalitions have purchased and have housed in law enforcement across the state.
So those things are there, but also there are 5 steps that people are going to see in there.
Yes.
And by the way, if you look on that website, you'll see the 5 basic steps, which are, can you do them quickly?
Sure. Take inventory of what you have in your home. Find out what you have. Safely, securely secure what you plan to keep. Dispose properly of what you don't need. Only take your medicine as prescribed always, and most importantly, talk to your children about the dangers of abusing and experimenting with these drugs.
And what's interesting here, on your end as a pharmacist, right? You've got an interesting situation because talk to folks about why, first, you're so engaged and involved in this issue, but also how far you can go and how far you can't go because of the current laws.
Well, it's it's a community service type thing that we do. I mean,
You're a pharmacist.
Yes, we actually have to pay for the box. We get it from NCPA, who's been tremendously National Community Pharmacy Association.
They provide you a box.
Yes.
What do you do with it?
That's called a Dispose My Meds.
Okay.
It's a program. If you were to Google that, you'd find out.
The website will be up there. Dispose My Meds.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so we get a box, a large box. It's about 18 inches by 18 inches, 3 feet tall. It's sealed. It's shipped to us. You bring in a prescription that's expired. You don't need any longer. We bring it in. There's a hole in the top, not a wide open hole. If you put your hand in, you can't get it out, so it's tamper-proof.
That's good to know. Go ahead.
So we put the top of the bottle in, dump it. Meds go into the bottle. We'll then either take the name off the bottle and dispose the bottle or give it back to the patient. We don't
Confidential.
Want the yes. Yep.
What can people, this is important, folks, what can people bring to you to be disposed, and what can't they bring to you?
They can't bring anything that's a scheduled drug or a controlled drug.
Give us an example.
Sleeping pills, narcotic painkillers, attention deficit drugs, things of that nature.
They can't?
They cannot bring it to us.
Why is that?
That's the law. That's the current DEA regulation, I believe.
The Drug Enforcement Administration has said you cannot bring those drugs in, but they can bring
any non-controlled drug, penicillin, blood pressure medication, anti-inflammatories, things of that nature.
You listen. Well, on Capitol Report, which is our public policy program, I do with my colleague Raphael Piorman from WNET. We'll talk about the public policy implications of that. You believe the law should be changed?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because?
Well, an example of, we're lucky in Madison where we have a 24/7, 365 drop box at our police department also. But if you're in a community that does not have such a service and a loved one passes, you have bottles of, say, Oxycontin, Tylenol with codeine, something laying around, you need to wait for a biannual event from the DEA or AMCC, possibly 6 months for that next event.
American Medicine Chest.
Yes.
Yes.
You're
Yep.
saying they're there, but it's not as accessible, and you're worried about what people, I'm putting words in your mouth if I'm wrong, tell me.
now
You're
it's
worried about what people are going to do in the meantime with some of these drugs.
It could sit there feasibly 6
Or
months.
flush them down the toilet bowl, and that's the problem into the waterway. Am I wrong there?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Jump
You're
in. Now that it's in the waterway. Now you know better than anyone, Bill. What happens?
Well, it's a severe problem with the waterways. The only way to really treat the water correctly to get this kind of stuff out of the water is...
By the way, excuse me, you should tell people why you know this. People don't know your job.
All right, well, I'm the Hackensack Riverkeeper.
They still don't know what that means.
Waterkeeper is an international organization of water advocates. Our principal function is to provide advocacy for the issue of clean water.
Got it.
Clean water is one of those life-giving substances that we can't do without. And clean water is also a right that everybody has. Everybody has a right to it. And if you turn on the tap or if you go to the beach, you should have a right to access clean water.
What are these prescription drugs doing to the waterways that you see?
Well, they get in there, and like Ed said earlier, in trace amounts. But some of these drugs, in trace amounts, if there's an allergy, it can trigger an allergy, and they'll chase that around for weeks in the doctor's office trying to figure out what's affecting the person, never thinking it's something coming from their drinking water. It also has a profound impact on wildlife. And we've talked about this before, but the subject of transgendered fish.
Transgendered fish.
That where estrogen and other hormones that get into the estuaries, into the areas that are the nurseries for our fish, entire populations of male fish turn into female fish, and then they can't reproduce, of course.
Of course.
And then what happens? The species starts to collapse, and the regulatory people in the fishing industry start looking at end-of-the-hook solutions on how to control the collapse, but when it's actually happening from the physiology of the
spin-off
fish.
effect of this extraordinary. And let me ask you, at United Water, big deal. Why?
It is.
Why?
Well, part of our business is consumer-based. We're sending water to people to drink out of their faucets, to take their showers. Of course it's important to us. Part of the problem is the EPA has not come out with an...
Environmental Protection Agency. This is the federal government.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
What is an acceptable level? They're still doing tests. I don't know. We don't know. They're still doing tests to find out where that number should be.
But what do you do? But see, I know you guys and the industry, but let's just talk about you guys. I thought there was some technology that you have that's supposed to be trying to deal with this issue.
We have the technology to determine what's in the water. We don't really have the technology yet to filter it out.
You don't?
We don't.
Well, how does it help the first part, by knowing what's in it?
Well, we report back to the EPA. You report to them to find out how we're going to go forward with this. More information is always better.
So you give it to them, and?
We're hoping they come up with a determination level so that we can do something to start filtering it.
But are you limited until they do? Are we, as citizens, as a society, limited until the federal government says, unacceptable level, we've got to change this, and then there's a movement toward that level?
As in all regulations, Steve, when the government regulates a particular pollutant, and let's call the pharmaceuticals, for the sake of this conversation, a pollutant.
Right.
If United Water were to go out and invest in technology to get this out, and then 6 months or a year later, the regulations come out, and the technology that they've invested in is not adequate to meet the regulatory process, we're dead. They're dead.
So they're kind of waiting.
It's an uncomfortable waiting game.
Because that's not what you want to do.
Well,
what would you rather do right now?
What would I rather do? I'd rather have clean water for everybody. That's what we want. That's the ultimate goal in life, is to have clean, fresh water accessible to everyone.
That's what you'd rather do. And what would you rather do? As a pharmacist who's told, it's interesting, you're doing something, and you want to both do more.
From our end, it's prevention. So I would like to take back everything that people aren't going to need.
Not just...
Right, or any scheduled drug. Not just non-narcotics or non-controlled.
But Angela, let's be fair. To play devil's advocate, there's got to be a reason why there's pushback on the other drugs. There's got to be a reason, I don't know what it is, why the Environmental Protection Agency hasn't established what the levels, I don't know what it is. Help us on this.
Sure. Well, I know that the DEA has been reviewing the regulations.
That's still the federal government as well.
Federal government since 2011. So, it's been a few years of conversation about allowing other entities to accept the medicines. And I know a lot of the feedback is that, security for the pharmacy and the possibility of diversion at that level once
they're concerned. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. We are turning into a public policy discussion. So in many ways, some folks in the federal government, at least on this end, are concerned about what pharmacists might do if, in fact, those other more dangerous, allegedly, drugs came back, and what they might do with them as opposed to disposing of them.
Well, that's one thing, but also if the medicines are in the lobby of the store, right in the store, and they're all scheduled drugs, and I mean, we've all heard stories, so we know how.
So we're doing this public, this public broadcasting program, trying to help people, not just describe the problem, but we're trying to help people do something, be proactive. That's the whole reason we got into this public awareness campaign. Right. So what is the message for people, given all these challenges?
That's a great question, because the message is to understand and control what's in your medicine cabinets. Yeah, a lot of people don't do that. For example, Steve, a couple of years ago, I was in Delaware, my shoulder froze, right? So I go to urgent care and I get a medication right? So I'm sitting on the beach listening to the Grateful Dead. I'm in a happy place, right?
And what has to be the Grateful Dead?
It had to be the Grateful Dead, right? The next day, my wife, who's a registered nurse, she said, how's your shoulder feel? I said, it's much better. She took the medication, dumped it down the toilet, because that's the generational thing.
Bad?
Very bad.
Very bad?
Very bad. You don't do it. You just don't do it. I think to really fix this problem, not only do we have to make the public aware, but we need to make generations aware. We need to go to medical schools. We need to tell nursing schools so that the new medical technicians, as they come up, understand how to properly dispose of medications.
But also, some of the work we've done, I'll come back to you, Bill, some of the work we've done with the partnership is we've had physicians. We've had physicians together in some of the forums we had, right?
Absolutely.
Where we bring them together and we talk about the role, you're smiling,
Yes.
some of the role that physicians play in this
Sure.
process. Talk about that. And how often they're prescribing prescription drugs, how often they're refilling those drugs, right?
Absolutely, because as you said, physicians, it's a generational thing, and what they were taught in medical school about the level of pain and how many prescriptions to write. We know that, there's prescribing and overprescribing, and we have conversations, and we've had a series of symposiums across the state at the partnership, working with the DEA, working with the Medical Society of New Jersey.
What do I do with all these drugs left over? I'm feeling good right now.
Letting them know what to do.
Isn't that a question? Sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
Isn't that what a lot of people are asking right now? You're smiling because I don't throw them down the toilet, but I will say this, and I've said this on many programs, and I've learned so much in doing this series. I will just put them in the drawer. I know I'm supposed to finish them, but if I am feeling much better, unless it's an antibiotic, because I know I'm supposed to finish those, I will sit there and go, I'm good. I'm not throwing them in the toilet because we've done these programs, but I will put them in the drawer. And I know the American Medicine Chest Challenge says what am I supposed to do?
You need to secure them within the home.
And we have kids. I'm doing the wrong thing.
Doing
Jump
the wrong
in.
thing, Steve.
Well, I mean, just, as far as securing them, that's great. Track your meds, Ed, you had mentioned
By the way,
earlier.
secure is a funny word. Secure means you lock them up, you get them away.
Yes, you lock them
Not
up.
accessible. Go ahead.
We actually sell boxes in our store which have their lock, and you can secure them to a wall or secure them somewhere if you want to lock them. You have a babysitter coming over your house, a contractor working in your house, asks to use the bathroom. You have no idea what people
What
are
are you
doing.
saying to people as they come in? Because you're an educator, you're an advocate, you got totally involved in this as a pharmacist. Your industry is involved to a significant degree. What are you telling your folks as they come in?
We're preventing problems. We're preventing both from kids taking this stuff, and we're preventing senior citizens from making mistakes. I have two children, yes. Luckily, though, they've grown up as a father of the pharmacist, so they're terrified of medications. They know the dangers. Not everyone lives in a household like that. But it's not only about the kids and the water supply; it's also senior citizens. And I'll have
what do they have to do with it?
I'll have a senior citizen come in pulling out a bottle from 2011. Asking me about it when it was discontinued, doesn't take it anymore. They're confused as they get older. It's all prevention. So if they clean it out, mistakes can't be made.
Clean it out.
Clean up the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, but see, I want to be clear. That expression sounds innocuous enough. Clean it out. They may think clean it out, throw it in the garbage.
Right.
That's not the way we want to go either.
No.
Correct, Ange?
That is correct. Because especially if someone is elderly or sick in the home, a lot of times we hear from our law enforcement partners that people know that and search through the garbage and access the medicines that have been in the garbage to divert them.
Can that wind up in the water as well, or no?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually wanted to bring the conversation back around to the public awareness
Go ahead.
issue.
That's the challenge.
Because increasing public awareness is what we do every day at Hackensack Riverkeeper. Awareness of the wildlife, awareness of the water quality, awareness of people's responsibility to the water. In April, we held the first annual Earth Fest at Overpeck Park over in Bergen County. And following in the footsteps of my colleagues around the country, what I wanted to do was I wanted to have a drug drop at the Earth Fest.
A drug drop?
With the police, Bergen County Police. We had a secured area in the park where the people could come with their drugs and drop their drugs off with the police so that they'd be disposed of in one of those boxes.
Did you tell people beforehand?
Well, it never got there because the police shut it down. That was one of the features that we wanted to have at the Earth Fest because it would increase public awareness. And they said, but you don't have to worry about that because we've got these mailboxes in our local police stations now. They missed the point. The point was getting people to understand that those mailboxes are out there, getting people to understand that the drop med boxes are available and why they're supposed to do it while they're out there next to the creek, having a good time, paddling, enjoying the water, and then getting that serious message by seeing dispose your meds, right?
So what do you?
So
listen, we're not here to be critical of law
Right.
enforcement, but I'll tell you, that story, anecdotal as it is relevant, is it not, Ed?
It is.
Go ahead.
It is. Here we're trying to bring in what we would think are partners.
We need partners.
Partners work. And when a partner refuses or says we don't need to because we already have it in place, that sends kind of a scary message. Because we need to think of recycling meds the same way 15 years ago we talked about recycling bottles.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We have to get to that same mindset where now recycling bottles that we buy at home for whether it be for soda,
Right.
water, or other, is second nature. We
Yeah.
just do it. We need to get that way with our medications.
Angela has said, you've told our producers that you believe at some point we're going to get to that.
I do think there's
But
gonna be community
look at all
change.
the obstacles.
Absolutely. And
What's it going to take?
we have to engage everyone, from those who are prescribing, those who are dispensing. You know, we need to engage everyone and have everyone on the same page. I mean, everyone needs to have the same message and understand. And I think then the change will come and the understanding. I mean, this is a relatively new.
How new is it?
I would say it probably peaked in the prevention field, probably in 2009. That's when I started to engage.
You only think it's 3 or 4 years old?
I do. I think that's when it really
5 years
came.
old? That's it, max?
Absolutely. You know, our first initiative, our first statewide initiative was in 2009. And, you know, that was following the first, you know, wave of research that was coming out about the spike in the diversion of these medicines. So.
But it just seems to me that, I mean, the recycling thing is actually a really good analogy because
absolutely.
most people feel, you know, it's interesting, not for everyone, because I've seen people at parties throw bottles and cans in the garbage, and I'll look at them like, you're joking, right? And I go, oh, come on, it's a party. But there's more, I'm not trying to say that to make myself look good, but I will say this, there's more social pressure on people to do the right thing with respect to recycling than I've ever seen before, meaning it's awkward to be the one to just throw the can or a bottle in a garbage can. There's not that kind of social pressure, or you don't feel ostracized because you're dumping medication, prescription drugs in the garbage or into the toilet, right? Because nobody knows.
But the awareness is increasing, and you know.
You do think that.
I mean, there's positive in everything. If you look at the DEA and AMCC programs, I think they've pulled in millions.
Medicine chest again.
Yeah, I think they pulled in millions of pounds.
We are making some progress.
NCPA has taken in over
What's
200 national community. The drop box that I have at my store.
Okay.
That organization has taken in over 200,000 pounds.
That's in spite of the fact that you're not allowed to take in some of the drugs that you would like to be able to take in spite of that, you're still making progress.
And controlled drugs aren't the only problem. I mean, by taking the stuff that we're taking in that's not controlled, you know, the kids are misusing drugs not the right way.
650 pounds you took in last year.
Yep. Yeah, that was that. The 650 pounds was the Madison department themselves.
What would have happened if you hadn't taken that in? Where would those drugs have wound up?
Who knows? You know, kids are using things because it's a prescription drug. They're under the fallacy that it's safer than an illicit drug. You know, so they're reading blogs, talking to kids. Oh, I'm going to take a Zoloft and a Robitussin and see what it does.
Yeah, well, that's one problem, but then in the waterways, it's a whole nother problem.
But we're preventing this. We're preventing water and abuse and confusion. And it's been very successful. We're taking millions of pounds. Yeah, we have a long way to go, but there's been a lot of success.
Getting back to your analogy about the party and the person throwing the bottle in the garbage can, disposing of medication is a much more personal issue.
What do you mean?
And it's a much more difficult conversation to have with a stranger. You know, what would you say to somebody on the street that walked up and said, "Are you disposing of your medications properly?"
Mind your business. In Jersey, you might say more than that.
You might say more than that.
Yeah, right? But what's it to you? But I would say, would someone begin to say, hey, listen, that could wind up in the waterways, and that could pollute our water and hurt our forget about hurt just our fish, could affect the rest of us. Would someone say, get out of here, mind your business? You know, like that's a crazy, like, do people actually believe that there's a direct correlation between what you put, Ed, prescription drugs into the toilet, goes into the water stream, and our health? Do you think people actually make that connection?
It's according to who's delivering the message.
Why isn't this not a Jersey-wide and then national campaign in the way recycling was, in the way stopping smoking was? Why is this not a national cause celeb campaign?
I don't know. And that's a great question. It should be. It truly should be, because every state has a waterway. Every state has, whether United Water's in it or not, there's something there that we should be cognizant of and know about.
A few seconds. Let's just say this. It's not a national campaign, but whatever it is, we want to be a part of it, and you have helped us. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Activists in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, TD Bank, the New Jersey Education Association, Berkeley College, JFK Medical Center, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, and by Choose New Jersey, transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios. This program has been made possible in part by United Water.
Each year, Americans fill 4 billion prescriptions, but as much as 1/3 of that medication will never be used. Some of this waste ends up in the rivers, lakes, and streams that make up our drinking water supply. The United Water Foundation and the National Community Pharmacists Association have partnered to bring you a simple solution. Dispose your meds responsibly. Go to disposemymeds.org to find a participating pharmacy and to learn more. A public service message from the United Water Foundation and NCPA.